good afternoon. Very excited to have you all on board with us. We're going to go over a very exciting and hot topic for retailers around their warehouse operations. Thank you for joining us for the exclusive webinar for navigating the new landscape of physically segregated yet digitally connected operations. We recommend you to ask your questions. Feel free to ask your question in the Q&A section, and we shall try to answer as many as possible at the end. In this webinar, we shall be discussing how has e-commerce or the new normal changed retail and warehouse management. What challenges in inbound and outbound operations are faced in warehouse operations, and in turn, how to resolve those using volumetric and handheld devices. We shall share the success stories of retailers who devised and executed growth strategies to lead the market. Lastly, we shall share a practical roadmap for implementing and executing a warehouse management system. After which we shall be taking your questions, so stick around till the end. Let's meet the speakers for today's webinar. I am Maham Fahim, and I am a solution architect for retail and supply chain at Confiz. Joining me is my colleague Ali Danish, who is a principal functional consultant with expertise in supply chain and warehouse management. Before we dive into the agenda, a little introduction about Confiz. We are a global technology services company catering to variable-sized enterprises, which include multiple Fortune 100 customers. We are also a Microsoft Gold partner, and we provide a wide range of services and solutions to accelerate IT modernization in the industry. So without further ado, let's jump right into what has changed and how has retail industry pivoted to adjust to these changes. The COVID-19 pandemic changed how the world functioned. We have all been there. Every aspect of our lives have been changed. How we work, travel, communicate, and shop, etc. Some developments have been sudden and involuntary, such as social distancing, wearing masks, restrictions on travel, etc. For others, it has merely accelerated the adoption of behaviors already gaining traction, such as the digitalization of shopping, banking, and more, which we all tend to enjoy. Everything in the palm of your hand, just a click away. Let's take a deep dive into these changes and solutions. Keeping more inventory on hand. Prior to the pandemic, manufacturers were relying on lean manufacturing to run their businesses. Lean manufacturing relies on the concept of just-in-time inventory in which parts are delivered to factories right as they are required, minimizing the need to stockpile them, hence maintaining less on-hand inventory, but able to fulfill orders efficiently, which in turn meant less warehouse space. When the pandemic hit us, the world ran out of everything. Factory operations globally came to a halt. Everyone was restricted to their homes, and a sense of panic ensued, which made people buy extra than what was needed. We all remember the toilet paper shortage that the Western countries faced, which is just one example. The consumers were consuming at a faster rate, but the supply had halted. Once people started working again, there was a huge gap to fill. This made the companies ponder about their strategy to avoid such a shortage in the future, since we don't know how many coronavirus mutations are coming for us, right? Therefore, companies started to reconsider their reliance on just-in-time inventory model and to consider maintaining higher levels of safety stock. But since it requires more warehouse capacity and in turn more labor staff to maintain, a balance of just-in-time inventory model and buffer stock level is the way forward. Reshoring, nearshoring manufacturing. Another strategy that many companies have started to consider is to bring their warehouse operations closer to home or shift some operations to their in-house manufacturing. As we previously discussed, due to the halt in operations, companies had a huge gap to fill. When the operations began, the transportation time caused further delay for inventories to reach their destination. Reshoring is gaining momentum as it will reduce the air or ocean transportation costs, bringing operations closer to home, which in turn means more control on the supply chain to prevent a future crisis. Smaller, decentralized warehouse locations. With the fluctuating consumer demand and the need to fulfill every order as fast as possible, retailers feel the need to provide same day or next day deliveries to their customers. Don't we all enjoy these fast deliveries as customers? It gives you almost a near to in store experience where there is a very short time span from ordering to receiving your products as compared to the previously followed delivery time of 4 to 5 days. To cater to this demand, manufacturers are looking into establishing smaller and more decentralized warehouses in key areas of the country, which would reduce the transportation cost and time. While some manufacturers are looking into utilizing third-party logistic network to reduce their transportation costs. Embracing omni-channel distribution. One of the things that is here to stay is the online shopping trend, ranging from online grocery shopping, ordering food delivery, to clothing and accessories shopping. A recent survey found that 60% of shoppers reported buying products online instead of in store due to COVID-19, and 32% expect to continue to shop online. Well, we can't deny that we enjoy ordering stuff online while we lay in the comfort of our homes. Therefore, it has become important for retailers to provide a 360-degree shopping experience to customers no matter what channel they reach you through. Hence, the retailers are offering varying delivery options to customers like buy online, ship from store, buy online, pick up in store, and curbside pickup. Customers also have the option to return their products whichever way they want, like returning products in store or ship the returns directly to the company. The increased need to fulfilling customer needs have put on the warehousing operations have put pressure on the warehousing operations to maintain a buffer stock on all locations and to even ship stock directly to customers where need be, and to incorporate best technology to ensure smooth and enhanced experience for their customers. Increased need for automation. To cope with the high customer demands, speedy deliveries, opting for more decentralized warehouse operations, maintaining a high safety stock level, companies are feeling the need for increased use of technology. Therefore, they are turning to automated storage and retrieval system. Adhering to the fluctuating consumer demand, it is important to implement flexible and scalable processes that enable users to increase or decrease picking speeds overnight. Automated processes will in turn help to reduce labor costs by utilizing the current staff more efficiently, even if the warehouse size is increased by many folds. For instance, the increased e-commerce orders have changed the order profile of the warehouse significantly. To fill these orders, warehouses will pivot from case picking to pallets designed for retail locations, to picking individual pieces into boxes to be shipped directly to end customers. This is a major change for warehouse operations. Material flow, processes, and storage technologies will all be impacted as the warehouse makes the shift from full case to split case picking. These are some of the main changes that companies are making, and it is evident that with an unpredictable future, warehouse and distribution centers will look to be as adaptable and as flexible as possible. Their main focus will be on how to best utilize space and efficiently manage their biggest expense, the labor. That's all from my side. I would like to request my colleague Ali Danish to further discuss the challenges and their solutions for warehouse operations with the use of technology. Over to you, Ali.
So I hope I'm audible and you all can see my screen as well. So from here onwards, we'll discuss about the warehouse challenges and the solution available out of the box by using the volumetrics and the mobile device. So let's begin. So what is the flow of this webinar? Basically, we'll discuss about the challenge. First, we'll discuss about the inbound challenges, then the outbound challenges, and finally the warehouse operational challenges. So let's proceed with the inbound challenges. And in the inbound section, we'll discuss a couple of challenges like the gaps in the warehouse layout. What are the location policies? What is the or how we can manage the inbound shipment and how we can perform the visibility of the shipments at the inbound dock. How we can remove or avoid the manual receiving process and start using the mobile devices that is like to reduce the errors. What is item batch expiry and how we can improve or enhance our reporting tool, which is inaccurate right now because of the incorrect collection of data. So let's proceed with the first challenge. And the first challenge is about the warehouse layout and design. So one of the most important steps when you are doing your advanced warehouse management implementation is the design of the warehouse. So your design should be efficient. So this is one of the key challenge. So once the design has been done, inside the design, you have locations. So you need to have a control on those locations, and how you will get those control by defining the location policies. So previously we don't have the location policies in old versions of AX. And from now onwards, we have something called location profile. And this is the solution. First of all, we can define the warehouse or design the warehouse, the layout. We can design the entire layout based on the zone groups, zones, aisle, rack, shelf, and bin level inventory management. So what the process is, basically, we will study your as-is business processes. What is your as-is business? And based on your as-is business, we'll define the zone groups. Let me share our experience over here in UAE after performing a couple of implementations for the advanced warehouse management. One of the supermarket or hypermarket project we recently completed. And in this project, we have a warehouse, advanced warehouse. We have implemented the advanced warehouse where we have a food section, non-food section, frozen section. So these sections, we have created the groups. Inside each section, we have the subsection. And for those subsection, we have aisles, racks, and shelves. And we are managing the inventory at the bin level. Now, the core objective of the enterprise is to have a control on those locations. We're defining the picking locations and bulk locations, return to vendor locations, inbound location, and outbound location. So when I'm saying that defining the location policy, what does this mean? It means that, do you want to control the volumetric for the location? So you need to define the height, width, length of the particular location. And what is the core objective of defining volumetric for the location? Defining volumetric means that once you will perform the put away process after registration at the inbound, when you are doing the put away, system will ideally guide you that this particular item belongs to food section. It should go to the food section. And where exactly this will go to the food section? Fresh food or non-fresh food? And in that section, what are the spaces available for the picker to pick? Because eventually the objective is to store it and in picker will come and pick it. So where is the most appropriate space for location for this particular item where it should go? So at the time of put away process, the system will guide you, your mobile device will guide you that where you need to do the put away. You don't need to remember every time that where this item should go. System will do the put away process based on the volumetrics. Only thing you need to define is the dimension of the item and the dimension of the location. And then volumetric will take the decision. So one of the policy is this volumetric in the location policy, where you need to define this in the location profile. So next thing, either you want to do the cycle count for this particular location or not. Periodic cycle count is required for this location or not. And the other one, there are a couple of other things as well. One of them is do you want negative inventory for this location or not, which is highly not recommended to have a negative inventory for this. So these are a couple of things which we need to take care of. Zone groups are very important. Zone groups and zones are just the logical grouping. The actual physical locations you can see in the warehouse are basically aisle, rack, shelf, and bin level inventory management. So this is one of the challenge and the solution. Let's move on to the next one. The next is basically the inaccurate inventory planning tool and the visibility of the inbound shipment. We all know that when we are opening the warehouse early morning and we can see that number of trucks are parked there based on the delivery of the vendor. So let me share our experience over here. We are using the master planning, and master planning is generating the planned purchase order and planned transfer orders. So planned purchase order is basically the triggering my inbound shipments. So we have a standard workspace available in D365. That is shipments workspace. In the shipment workspace, I can see what are the inbound shipments. By the way, in the master planning, we can also define the vendor calendar. So through that vendor calendar, the particular vendor will ship the item on the specified date. Let's suppose my vendor A is agreed to ship the items on Sunday and Thursdays. So system will always do the inbound, create the inbound shipments only for the Sundays and Thursdays for that particular vendor. By this way, by using the master planning, vendor calendar, and shipment workspace, I can plan my inbound shipments. Okay, so once the shipment arrives at the inbound dock, I don't have much time because the whole objective is that register all the items at the inbound and do the put away process. And my inbound should be clean all the time for the next shipment. So I need to perform this process as efficiently as possible. So I just need a mobile device and I can trigger the entire process. So this is all about inbound shipments. Third is one of the key challenge that there are a lot of delays which causes error, which is basically due to the manual receiving. So we need to avoid the manual receiving. We need to start the culture of barcode scanning in the warehouse, no manual item number entry in the system, which is like, again, the chances of error will be increases when you are doing the manual entry. So we really encourage that our barcodes should be stick on the item, and we need to scan the item barcode and just register the item at the inbound location. So once the registration has been done, it means that now my inventory is available in the system for the replenishment. So I need to perform the registration as soon as possible. But again, the registration is possible only when your items are available in the purchase order, because there's a direct link with your purchase order. You are registering the items against the purchase order. And one of the other thing is that how there are different ways to register the item. You can scan the item to register the item. You can scan the license plate and start registration of your item, right? There are different methods available. And once the registration has been done, you can compare the estimated and standard time of this registration with the actual time. So labor standards is one of the key feature which we can trigger. So once you define the labor standard, system will start comparison that this is the standard of registering the item of this particular item. If the item is big, definitely it will take more time because you need to have a handling issues. So you can define the registration standard hours or standard timings for the item registration, and also you can define the standard time for the put away process. So once it is done, then you can compare the actual versus standard time, and the core objective is to enhance the efficiency of the warehouse worker. So this is one of the challenge, and the next one is item batch expiry. So if you are in the food industry, you need to record the batch. And if you want to record the batch, at the batch level, you need to record the manufacturing date and expiry of the batch. So these things you need to record in the system. Again, there is a standard feature available in D365 for first expiry, first out batch inventory management. Based on this principle, whenever the item arrives at the inbound dock, you need to capture the expiry date of an item along with the batch. And system will maintain this, and you can trigger the notification whenever the item is near to expiry or about to expire. Now, if the item is expired, there is a standard feature available again to generate the quality check or quality order in the system. And if the item is not good enough or it is near expiry or damage, you can transfer the item or put away the item, not to the actual location, but to the return to vendor location, damage location, or to the quarantine location. In the quarantine location, where you need to take the step, generate the quality order and non-conformance for the item. So there is an entire quality management solution available out of the box, which is very much in detail. Previously, you cannot perform the quality details from the mobile device, but now, yes, you can use the warehouse mobile device and start generating the quality orders and perform all those activities, all from the mobile device. All you need is the connectivity. Okay, so the last thing we'll talk about in the inbound logistics is basically inaccurate reporting. So this is one of the major concern of the warehouse process owners, especially the warehouse users, that they are not getting the correct results after doing the registrations and transfers and all this. They don't have time to view each and every transaction. So we all know the power of Power BI. The tool is available, and we all know about the data entities as well. So I always like to present the data in more visuals because static reports are out of date now. Let's start using the visuals of Power BI. You can present all the data entities related to advanced warehouse management in the Power BI. Now, what are the most common data entities? The most common ones are work and related data entity, that whenever something arrives or goes out or moves inside the warehouse, system is creating the work. So why not we take this data entity of work and present into the Power BI in the more meaningful visuals, like how many transfer issues I have done today, how many purchase orders we have registered today, how many containers we packed today, how many inventory movement has been done today. So based on these transactions, we can take the appropriate actions. And also, is there any irrelevant inventory movement is going on? If yes, then we need to minimize that, because inventory should not move until unless it's really required. Registration and receiving at the time of against the purchase order, then replenish it. Other activities we need to minimize. Also, we can also view through these visualization in one single glance that what are the open orders, what are the closed orders, how many orders I created today. So, and how many orders are in process, and how much labor or workforce I need in order to close these in process tasks or open tasks. So we can take the decision on based on these visuals. So visuals are most important, and they are the tool which help us to take the appropriate decision. So this is one of the entity I have presented in the Power BI. You can use other standard entities like shipments, loads, transfer order statuses. These all standard visuals you can present in the Power BI. So this is all about inbound challenges. Meantime, if you have any question, please feel free to ping. We'll try our level best to answer you at the end of the session. Next is about the outbound challenges, and I will discuss the challenge one by one, and then I will try my level best to answer you or share the proposed solution in the session. So inaccurate inventory planning and no control on the shipment. Again, for the inbound, we already discussed how to tackle that issue. For the outbound, the feature is basically waves. Now, what are waves? Okay, waves is only and only for the outbound orders. And the objective of the wave is that, let's suppose my warehouse is operating in two shifts, first shift and second shift. I have different attributes of items in the first shift and different attributes of item in the second shift. So when I'm releasing the wave, system is creating the work. And that work is either for picking against the transfer order or for the sales order. So how to increase the efficiency of the picker to remove the discrepancies and make sure that the picker is picking in more efficient manner? We can use system directed or user directed picking processes. So in user directed, user will trigger the process. User will scan the work ID or license plate ID and start picking. And if it's system directed, system will guide the user that, dear user, go there and pick this item and put it at the P1. So again, based on my work template and location directives, which are already defined in the system will guide the picker that go to the zone 1, section number 1, and pick this item from aisle 1, rack 1, shelf 1, scan the location, scan the item, and pick the item and put it at the packing location, because we need to replenish it to the particular store or like send it to the particular customer against the eCommerce order. So this is how we enhance the performance of the picker. The picker doesn't need to memorize anything, just mobile device will trigger the entire process and guide the picker. Okay. Now, if the picker is start moving, system should also take care that what is the most efficient route for the picker. Let's suppose in one work order, system needs to pick 3 items from 3 different sections. So first advice is to restrict your picker by section to increase the efficiency. So dedicated pickers for a section so that the work process will be smooth and efficient, more efficient. We need to minimize the footprints of the labor as well, that they need to collect the item as soon as possible. So we can define the picker by section. Within that section, now there are huge space. There are 5-6 aisles where picker needs to go and pick the item. So what is the best route or the most efficient route? Yes, we can define the smart route in the system. And that route will guide the picker to go this aisle 1 first, then aisle 2, and finally the aisle 3, and take your turn and come back and put the item, all the items at the packing station. So again, there are a couple of standard features available where picker can pick, like he can do the zone-based picking, he can do the section-based picking, and he can also do the cluster picking against multiple orders. These all are options available out of the box. Next is about the manual picking, packing and containerization. So there are also 2 options for the containerization. Now assume that work order is generated and my picker has picked the items from 3 different sections and put it at the P1. And same, all the pickers done their job. Now it's the job of the guy who's doing packing at the packing station. I can have multiple packing stations, P1, P2, P3, P1 for the food section, P2 for the non-food, P3 for the frozen section. I can create multiple packing stations. The packing stations should be movable along on a trolley where you install all the laptop or tablet and handheld devices to perform the packing. So once the packing has been done, you need to generate the container where containerization is involved. So I can create a container manually, or if the item dimensions are already defined in the system and containers are also created in the system will propose me that which item goes to which particular container and automatically create a container and fulfill its dimensions. This is one way. Other method is I can do it manually. And when I'm saying container, it really doesn't mean that it's a 20 feet or 40 feet high cubic container. No, it can be a container. A small box can be a container. A small pouch can be a container. It is anything where I'm putting my item so that it will travel to the customer or to the store. So this is all about containerization. Next is about no control on batch picking. So the idea is that once the item is expired, ideally, based on the first expiry, first out, system should propose me the DL picker, since this particular item will expire first. So you don't need to pick other item, pick this item first. And you can force the picker to pick this item. Otherwise, you can pop up a error message or pop up a warning message. Both options are available out of the box. So these are all about the outbound challenges, and try my best to present you the most appropriate solution for the outbound challenges. The next is about the warehouse operations. Now we will discuss the day-to-day operations of the warehouse. So again, I will discuss the challenge and the solution. The first challenge is basically the manual replenishment. Now, what is replenishment? Replenishment is basically my stock is available at the bulk locations, and I have my picking locations in the section. Whenever picking location goes out of the stock, it goes below the threshold. Ideally, system should automatically trigger the replenishment process to pick the item from the bulk location and put it at the picking location. So this is the core objective. Now I can perform this exercise in a batch job. Whenever I will open up my warehouse early morning, first thing I will run is to trigger this batch job so that all the replenishment work is created, so that whenever my picker will arrive at the picking station to pick something, the item is already available. So again, I have different work classes like replenishment work class, registration work class, purchase order work class, I transfer issue work class. I can define the priority for the work classes. So my first priority for the work class is replenishment. So whenever some picker will come, replenishment is my first priority. Replenish all the picking locations so that inventory is available for all the pickers throughout the day. So this is one thing. Now, what if something is like out of the stock at the picking location at midday, and my customer, one of the e-commerce customer, ordered something which is in a big quantity? So we can also set up in the system that whenever there is a demand generated and the picking location is empty, system will generate one picking work. Also, if the item is not available there, system will first prioritize the replenishment work. So two work orders will be generated. One is related to the replenishment to pick the item from bulk location to the picking location, which is that high priority. Second priority is to pick that item from the picking location and put it at the packing location for the e-commerce customer or for the store. So again, replenishment is very useful feature. You can define the min max for a particular location and make sure your inventory is there all the time. Next is stock count. One of the major challenge we have faced for the old warehouse is that the inaccurate stock counting feature. We cannot perform the stock count in the old warehouse management through mobile device. Here we can perform the cycle counting. Cycle counting feature was not available before R3. It's introduced in R3 and now it's like enhanced and modified in D365. It's giving very good results. So we can trigger the cycle count for an item anytime. We can create the cycle count work or plan the cycle count work by zone, by section, or we can also trigger this process for a particular item. So once the cycle count has been completed, so the worker has completed the task. Again, you can define the labor standards for this particular task, one thing. Once the task is completed, if I'm not satisfied as a warehouse manager that this is the correct quantity, I can reassign this task, same task, to some other worker and then compare the results. And if I'm satisfied, I will approve it and post it. Once the approval has been done, acceptance has been created, then you can define different reason codes that you need to adjust this inventory for the different reason codes. The inventory controller and the finance team needs to post the inventory control journal or the adjustment journal, and finally the stock will be adjusted. So this is the core objective of the cycle count, to trigger the process from the mobile device and make sure your inventory up to date all the time. Then we have the inefficient warehouse and labor utilization. So the core objective is how to enhance the labor efficiency, which is most important. So labor standards can be defined against each work order type. And once the labor standards are defined, then you need to train your user to increase the productivity of the labor through labor standards. And next challenge is about inaccurate inventory planning and carrying cost issues. We all know that there's a standard feature of Microsoft Azure machine learning. By defining the forecasting principles and different models, we can run the inventory forecasting based on the gross data. So based on the historical data, inventory forecasting will work. So we should have at least 1 year or 2 year records in the system, and system will compare the issue versus receipt. And then once we run the master planning, system will advise us that what are the items we need to procure, what are the items we need to produce, and what are the items we need to replenish. Also, we can add the factor if there is a seasonality going on. There is an option of seasonality that based on this season, Christmas season or Eid season, we can define a factor, and based on that, the quantity will be increased for transfer and purchase. And finally, one of the most important requirement is cross-docking. We can perform the cross-docking in D365. The core objective of cross-docking is to register the items at the inbound, sort them, and ship them. So rather than doing the put away against the purchase order, we can minimize the steps and we can minimize the packing options as well. Just directly register the item, sort the item, and send it to your customers and to the stores. The only limitation of cross-docking is that your physical inventory check must be positive. It should not be negative, because cross-docking principle will not work if your inventory is negative for the item model group. So that's it for the challenges. Let's discuss about our success stories at Confiz. We did warehouse management implementation at a couple of our clients in Pakistan and in UAE as well. One of the recent implementation, which is one of the most challenging one as well, at the Abu Dhabi COP. Here we have implemented different modules. One of the we have like integrated the advanced warehouse management with the master planning, procurement, and all this. And we have designed a big warehouse layout. It's a big warehouse. They are into the hypermarket and food and non-food business, as well as the frozen business. They have 50+ stores. And we recently went live with them, and the project is now in the support phase, and they really increase the efficiency of their labor. They reduce their cost. The pickers are happy. They can pick the item in as efficient manner as possible. So this is all about the success stories. Okay, the next is the practical roadmap. What is Confiz approach to implement my advanced warehouse management? So we are using the sure step methodology. We are moving from the diagnostic phase and starting off the diagnostic phase by presenting you the blueprint of the entire solution. We log the scope and present you the solution at high level during the discovery session. Then we come up with the analysis, record your requirements, and present you the FRD document along with the visual process flows. And then we design the warehouse layout based on those requirements. Design is most important thing. So once the design is approved, then we start the development if required and move on to the UAT and training phase. So where we'll discuss the couple of testing and test cases. And once everything goes well, we go live. So this is the sure step methodology or practical roadmap for the implementation. And that's it from our side. And you all need to take some actions at the end of the session. You can get a risk-free calculations or consultation from us and assessment for your warehouse operations. In this consultation, we'll offer you that how to improve your warehouse operations, especially the advanced warehouse operations, and how to increase your labor productivity and reduce the cost of your warehouse, and how to perform your daily operations in more efficient manner by using the mobile device and cloud first approach, and how to fulfill your orders for the multi-channel fulfillment. Finally, I would like to thank you for attending this session. And yes, we will share the presentation at the end of this session. And Maham, do we have any questions?
Yes, Ali, we have a few questions. I have a question for you from the audience. Can we use WMS without license plate?
Okay, so this is one of the most common questions which I'm getting these days from different audiences. No, the answer is no, to be very honest. Reason, the entire idea of advanced warehouse management is to trigger this license plate. Now, this license plate, it is the key. Now, basically, what is this license plate? Yes, it is a pallet, but forget, let's suppose I don't have pallet in my warehouse, but still I need to use the license plate. How? License plate is a key. Whenever any item against any order, transfer order, purchase order, or any other order entered in my warehouse, I need to stick some license plate to it. What is license plate? It's a number, 1, 2, 3, or a barcode number. If I stick that sticker 1, 2, 3 with this particular item, now wherever this item travels in my warehouse, either it go to the inbound location, then move on to the bulk location, then to the picking location, then to the transfer order, and goes out to the warehouse. This particular number will travel with this item. Now, either I have a pallet for this item or not. No, it really doesn't matter. What matter is item will travel in the warehouse with this license plate. And once the item will goes out from the warehouse, this license plate will be expired. So this is the core objective. You need to maintain the license plate in the system.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next question. Wouldn't reshoring or nearshoring the warehouse operations increase the cost of operations as compared to offshoring? I think I'll answer this one. I think every approach has its own pros and cons, but since the pandemic, the overall cost outweighs the benefits of reshoring or nearshoring. So a combination of approaches can be implemented based on the business type. So it mainly depends on the retailer and the related costs. Ali, I have another question for you. Approximately how much can we expect to reduce in picking costs if we implement such a solution?
So one of the core challenge we all know that in the warehouse is picking process. Picking is the most challenging one. Inbounds usually stabilize will not take much time, but picking is the challenging task. And warehouse manager or the process owners wants to reduce this picking effort. So to be very honest with you, once you implement this handheld approach or the mobile device scanning process, or advanced warehouse management has been implemented and system will guide you for the picking, you can reduce your cost up to 20 to 30% of the pickers, as well as the travel time. The travel time will be reduced because you can define the smart route in the system, and system directed picking will advise you where to pick from and where to put to. So this will really reduce the cost and increase the efficiency. You can say 20 to 30% will be reduced in terms of cost, and labor efficiency also be increased from like 40-50% increase, to be very honest.
Thank you, Ali. We have just one last question from the audience. Can we record batch numbers and their respective expiry dates while receiving the items using the warehouse application?
Yes, you can. You can record. You need to trigger the batch enable the item. The item should be batch enabled, and at the time of registration, system will pop up that enter the batch number and the expiry.
Okay, so we continue to receive more questions, but due to limited time, we shall be concluded this webinar. If you have further queries, feel free to email us and we shall get back to you. Thank you for joining the webinar. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Take care.